3 New Year's Eves. One ended in a hospital, one with blue lights and a fake cop, one with a voice calling my name in the dark. These are true stories, and all of them still haunt me.
I was followed home, and it didn't end there. It was like any other New Year's Eve. Parties, celebrations, resolutions, and having fun with friends. Until it wasn't. Last year, one of my friends, Aurora, invited me to a New Year's party at her big, beautiful house. Of course, I said yes. Who would turn down an invite like that? I remember getting ready, genuinely excited, feeling happy and carefree. When I arrived, Aurora greeted me and introduced me to some of her friends. I knew a few of them, but not all. She knows practically everyone in town. We talked, laughed, drank, and shared our hopes for the new year. It was a good night. I even made new friends. But I had to leave a little early because I had things to do the next morning. I hugged everyone goodbye, got into my car, and drove off, completely unaware that something was wrong. That's when I noticed a car. I'm not a car expert, but I know it was black. It blended perfectly into the dark night. At first I ignored it, but then I realized it was still behind me, no matter where I turned. I tried different streets, different neighborhoods. The car stayed with me. My fear grew, but I forced myself to stay calm. I drove straight to my apartment as fast as I safely could. My only thought was this: if I get inside, I'll be safe. I still feel my heart race when I think about how fast I ran from my car to my apartment door. Once inside, I watched through the window. The car was there. It just sat outside. No one got out. It didn't move. After several minutes, I tried to convince myself it was nothing. Maybe someone lost, maybe someone drunk, maybe I was overreacting. I was wrong. I lay down in bed, trying to calm myself, when there was a knock at the door. I ignored it. The knocking turned into banging. Then the silence turned into screaming. It was the most horrifying scream I've ever heard, something so disturbing that I still can't describe it properly. The banging and screaming went on for what felt like hours. And then it stopped. I slowly stood up and looked out the window. The car was gone. To this day, no one believes me. My friends say I must have been drunk or overly tired. My neighbors say they didn't hear anything. No one saw a black car. But I know what I experienced. And this year, I'll be more careful, more aware. Because if it happened to me, it could happen to you too. Something called my name in the dark, and we were told never to turn around. I spent a summer at the University of Hawaii in Oahu and met a professor named Glenn Grant. He was well known on the island as a ghost hunter and even ran a ghost tour downtown. Throughout the summer, he would spend time with students and tell us ghost stories. It was an incredible experience. Sadly, he passed away in 2003. The Hawaiian Islands are rich with paranormal legends, and one of the stories Glenn told us was about something called calling ghosts. These spirits would call out to people, usually asking for help. If you followed the voice, you would eventually meet your end, fallen off a cliff or into the ocean. One night, after hearing this story, my friend Andrew and I were walking a friend back to her dorm around 1 or 2 in the morning. The dorm buildings were long, connected structures, 2 stories high, stretching over 100 yards from north to south. We dropped her off at the very south end, watched her go inside, and began walking north toward our own dorm. That's when I heard it. A woman's voice called my name. Brian? Andrew and I stopped walking but didn't turn around. I asked him quietly if he had heard it too. He said yes. We both agreed the voice didn't belong to the friend we had just dropped off, or to anyone else we knew in that dorm. And we had just heard the story about calling ghosts. We agreed on one thing immediately. Do not turn around. As we started walking again, we heard the voice a second time. Closer. Brian. At that point, we took off running as fast as we could, yelling at each other not to look back. We reached the north end of the dorms in seconds and stopped at a street intersection. Before I could even finish saying, "Did you hear that?" I heard it again, right near my ear, over my shoulder. Not shouted, not aggressive. The voice was calm, beautiful, almost like a whisper. Brian, that's when we completely lost it. Andrew and I ran another 200 yards straight to our dorm. I locked myself inside my room, grabbed my lacrosse stick, and sat on my bed with my back against the wall. I don't know what I was waiting for. I don't remember falling asleep. The next morning, I woke up grateful to be unharmed. Even now, years later, that night still unsettles me. That voice was incredibly beautiful, and I sometimes wonder, if I ever hear it again, would I finally turn around? Andrew, if you're reading this, thanks for running with me. I think we were both trying to outrun each other. And Dr. Grant, thank you for making that summer unforgettable. Rest in peace. I thought I was being arrested, until he said this. "Hey, can I have some punch? Make sure it's from the left bowl." "Sure thing," my friend slurred as he poured it. I took a sip and immediately thought, this is awful. But I was thirsty, and I didn't want to be rude, so I finished it anyway. It was the worst punch I'd ever tasted. Then someone laughed and said, "Hey, I thought you didn't drink. Glad to see you loosening up and living a little." That's when it hit me. Oh, so that's what alcohol tastes like. I don't drink. My family has a long history with alcoholism, so I've always avoided it. My friend had made a separate punch bowl just for me and the designated drivers. Someone drunk had poured alcohol into it. I said, that bowl was supposed to be non-alcoholic. He shrugged and said, "Non-alcoholic punch? It's a New Year's party. Everything has alcohol." It tasted weak, so I added vodka. And just like that, my promise to never drink was broken. Before I was even 21. I started feeling dizzy, so I went into a bedroom to lie down. Dizzy turned into drowsy, and before I realized it, I was asleep. I woke up to a man standing over me, gripping my shirt. It was the same guy who poured the punch. "Wake up," he said urgently. "The cops are outside." Panicked and confused, I stumbled out the back door while the police were distracted at the front of the house. I got in my car and drove off. Driving felt much harder than it should have. A few minutes later, I found myself on a dark, isolated road surrounded by trees. Up ahead, I saw a car parked on the side of the road. Great, I thought. It's New Year's, probably a cop. I told myself to drive slowly. Stay straight, don't draw attention. As I got closer, I realized it wasn't a police car. I felt instant relief. Then it pulled out behind me. Blue lights turned on. You've got to be kidding me. An unmarked car. The officer approached and said, "License and registration?" "Have you been drinking tonight?" "You were swerving." If I lied, he'd test me. If I told the truth, maybe he'd show mercy. "Yes, officer. Just a little." "You're underage," he said. "Step out of the vehicle." He took my phone, put me in handcuffs, and placed me in the back of the car. Trying to calm myself, I said, "Jail isn't as scary as it looks on TV, right?" There was a long pause. Then he said, "You're not going to jail." I couldn't believe it worked. "Oh, thank you so much," I said. "But if I'm not going to jail, why am I cuffed?" He looked at me and replied, "You're not going to jail because I'm not a cop."
Did you enjoy the story?
Stay tuned for another exciting story.